Welcome to Bedtime Tales for Kids. Tonight we will be reading Rules, Rules, Rules. Once upon a time, in a beautiful, lush, green forest, lived a panda named Penelope. She was a happy and playful little panda. She had a friend squirrel named Harper, who was just as playful as her. They were the best of friends and loved to play together every single day. They would run, they would jump, they would climb trees and had so much fun. But as much as they loved to play, they knew that there were rules that they had to follow. Penelope and Harper were told that rules were there to help keep them safe and help them make good choices. So, every day before they would start to play, they would stop and think about the rules they needed to follow for that day. They had a rule for when they walked to school. This was one of the first rules they always followed.
"Look both ways,"
said Penelope. So Harper and Penelope looked to the left and they looked to the right. They made sure that the road was clear before they took a step. They knew that it was important to make sure it was safe before crossing, so they didn't get hurt. They had a rule for when they were at school. Their teacher, Mrs. Owl, would read to them before recess. But sometimes, they would have a question about the story. So Mrs. Owl had a rule.
"I would like you to wait until the end of the story and put up your hand if you have a question,"
said Mrs. Owl. Penelope and Harper knew that it was rude to interrupt Mrs. Owl while she was reading, so they waited until she finished. Maybe they would get the answer to their question after she finished reading the story. The school bell rang. It was recess time. They were so excited to go play with their friends. But they also had a rule during recess. "Remember to share your toys," said Mr. Gator. Penelope and Harper knew that they needed to share their toys with their friends so that everyone had a chance to play with them. After school, Penelope and Harper would walk home together. As they crossed the street, they remembered their first rule of the day. They looked to the right and they looked to the left. When the road was clear, they crossed the street. Penelope waved goodbye to her friend Harper and went inside her home. But there were a few more rules to follow.
"Don't forget to take off your shoes, put away your backpack, and wash your hands, Penelope,"
said her mother. Penelope knew that she could not walk in the house with her shoes on because it will make the floor dirty. And if she made the floor dirty, her mother would have to clean it up. This would make things harder for her mother. So she took off her shoes and put them on the shoe rack. Then she took off her backpack and put it in the closet. As she was washing her hands, Penelope's mother came and gave her a big hug from behind.
"Let's go have some dinner. You must be hungry,"
said her mother. Penelope was starving. She ran to the dinner table, but there were rules at the dinner table too, and rules when she played outside with her friends, and rules when she watched TV, and rules before bed. As the sun began to set and the stars came out at night, Penelope and her mother said good night to each other. Penelope knew that tomorrow she would wake up and play again, but there were also rules she would have to follow. The end.